Hi, my name's Sarah, and this is my sister Katie.
And we just want to remind everybody that
Girls like rock too.
If you've been following along with our podcast series, Girls Like Rock 2, you will have already picked up on the fact that I am a very big Blink-182 fan.
They're one of your bays.
They are one of my bays. I've mentioned them in a few of our episodes when we've done rankings or lists. I chose All the Small Things as one of my favorite videos, music videos.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Of course, Tom DeLonge, one of my sexiest rock stars.
Yeah, he's made the Girls Like Rock 2 podcast Sexiest Rock Stars list.
Yes.
Nice.
Another thing you would know if you've been listening to our podcast series is I am a very big Tom DeLonge fan. Sarah, did I ever tell everyone the story about the time we met Tom DeLonge?
I think it's been mentioned a couple of times, but it's it's worth repeating again, Katie, because it's such a freaking good story.
Okay, I won't bore you all with that story yet again. But I was thinking about it, Sarah, and as I mentioned, I'm a big Tom DeLonge fan, so I know quite a bit about him just from keeping on track of him over the years. I know quite a bit about Travis Barker because I watched his early 2000s reality TV show with his then wife, Shanna Moakler.
Oh, you watched it. Okay.
I watched that. And then also one of my guilty pleasures, The Kardashians. I do watch that show. And he, of course, is married to Kourtney Kardashian. So he pops up on that show quite a bit.
Yeah, he does.
So even through that, I feel like I've gotten to know him better.
Yeah.
But what's funny, Sarah, is I never really knew a lot about Mark Hoppus. And of course, Blink-182 is the Mark, Tom, and Travis show. Mark Hoppus, one of the founding members of Blink-182.
He's a huge part of it.
Yeah. I never really learned that much about Mark. But then last year, Sarah, I was very excited because Mark Hoppus came out with his book, Fahrenheit 182. Oh,
I love the cover.
I love the cover.
Really well done.
Okay, I'm just going to go right to it. I loved this book.
Oh my God. I loved it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, you lent it to me, and I've always liked Blink-182. I think they're great.
Yeah,
you're a big fan.
Yeah, I was going to say, just because I'm a big fan,
you're a big fan.
Got to know them.
Tom was really nice when we met him, and for millennials, they're like a music staple.
They are a music staple.
Just seeing their faces, I just felt kind of safe. Which sounds kind of funny, but so you're like, hey, let's read it. We can talk about it on the podcast, and I really enjoyed this book. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Made me fall in love with Mark Hoppus.
It really did.
Yeah.
It did.
Yeah.
So Sarah and I have yet to do a podcast episode on a book.
Yeah.
And I'd kind of thought about doing an episode on this book before I read it. I was like, I suggested it to you.
You mentioned that a while ago.
That's an interesting idea.
Totally.
Then I read it and I was like, Sarah, I have to do a half-hour episode on this book.
Oh, it was so eye-opening in many ways and
raw. It was eye-opening.
Yes.
It was raw. It was funny. I actually LOL'd a few stories.
I felt like a 16-year-old boy sometimes.
Yeah.
Why am I laughing at this?
So Sarah and I decided, let's do it. Let's do an episode on the book. So
Yeah.
I am going to start this episode by saying we're talking a lot about the book. So if you do plan on reading the book yourself, maybe wait to listen to the rest of this episode, read the book, and then listen.
It's a good idea, actually. Yeah. Might be some spoiler alerts.
A lot of spoiler alerts. So I'd hate to give away all of the book for you. So if you want to read it first.
Even though if you listen to this, still read it.
Yeah.
Coming from his words, it was so good.
It was good.
Oh my God.
Oh, Sarah, where do we begin?
Blink-182, Mark Hoppus is coming up a lot in my YouTube feed because I've been listening to them for today's episode, and I now have a crush on Mark Hoppus.
Really?
Oh, yeah. This book was raw, Katie.
Did we mention it was a raw book?
It was.
No, it was. No, it was. It was.
It was so human.
It was human.
Oh my God. We're like,
I know. Okay. Well, we have some
anyways.
content. We're not just going to gush over to Mark Hoppus.
I was watching this podcast and Mark Hoppus is the guest star from maybe 10 months ago to promote his book.
Yeah.
And it's these two guys, and I'm sorry, I can't remember the title of it, but the one guy was talking about listening to Blink-182 during his first hand job. And then the other guy was like, oh, Blink-182, you made me realize that like girls can be that hot. And I guess he was talking about Enema of the State. And mind you, in their defense, I'm not their target demographic, obviously.
No,
but I was like, you have Mark freaking Hoppus on your podcast and you're talking about hand jobs and hot chicks?
Yeah. Well, Sarah, they were first known as the Naked Band, so
yeah, they were.
What's Mage again?
They were. I mean, that video is pretty iconic.
Oh yeah, the What's Mage Again video.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
That was,
So I want to talk about this book because number one, I enjoyed it, and number two, I think it's interesting because you recently read it as well.
Yeah.
So I thought it would be interesting for us to talk about it together, and somebody as a huge Blink-182 fan, and I've been, oh my goodness, for what, over 20 years I've been a huge
God.
Well, yeah, almost 30 years I've been a Blink-182 fan.
They're one of your main bands.
They are one of my main bands. So I just thought it would be interesting to have a conversation, Sarah, and kind of compare and contrast how I felt about the book as a huge Blink-182 fan, and then you as you're not a not fan, but
I'm not like a regular Blink listener.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I just wanted to do a deep dive into the book. This is the first Girls Like Rock 2 podcast deep dive into a book.
It is. Yeah. It is. It's a great.
What better book to deep dive into than Fahrenheit 182, Mark Hoppus.
Great title.
Great title. So Sarah, I thought I would just begin by touching base on a few points brought up in the book that I found surprising as a Blink-182 fan.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is I was surprised that I didn't know these facts. I feel like as a Blink-182 fan who's listened to all the music, I've seen them live 3 times now, and I've researched a lot on them just from interest. I was surprised these things I didn't know.
I'm curious what surprised you because you're such a huge fan of Blink.
I am a huge fan of Blink.
They were one of our main bands in our house growing up.
Yeah.
So what surprised you as a big Blink fan?
So number one, my first surprise was I didn't realize that Adam's song was actually about Mark Hoppus.
I remember this song was really big.
It was very big.
It's a great song, and he does open up quite a bit about it in the book. I thought it was, or maybe that was through you, about a friend or something.
So I remember when Adam's song came out, there was a lot of rumors that it was about their former drummer, Scott Rayner, and that he killed himself. So if you aren't familiar with the song, Adam's song, it is about suicide.
Yeah.
It's about someone in a very dark, lonely place.
Yep.
And I remember people saying, oh, it was the drummer. The original drummer's gone because he killed himself, which is not true at all. He was kicked out of the band.
Yeah.
He's still,
as
far as I know, he's still alive.
I think so, yeah.
So then I thought, I always thought, okay, I guess Mark and Tom knew a guy named Adam and he killed himself. But no, Mark really dives into this song and about how it was on himself. And if he had killed himself, what it would be like. And Sarah and I know we sounded a bit like dipsticks at the beginning. So we talked about how this book is raw. And one of the raw things he talked about was being on tour. You're constantly with people. You're constantly having people adore your music and singing along. All of a sudden, tour's done. You get home and you're alone.
That classic saying, it's lonely at the top.
It is lonely at the top.
And he mentioned that coming home and just being totally, alone. And the feeling of loneliness. Yeah.
So he wrote it about himself. And what I also found surprising was I always thought, I hate to say this because I sound like a really bad Blink-182 fan, but I always thought the line, remember the time that I spilled the cup of apple juice in the hall? I always thought that was a really weird line and like he just wrote it to have something rhyme.
Right.
And then reading this book, I'm like, no, that was a huge deal for him because he spilled the cup of juice in the hall when his parents were fighting when he was a kid, when they were going through a separation.
Yeah, he kind of goes back to that in terms of his anxiety.
Yeah.
The divorce of his parents.
Yeah.
And there was one where his mother meeting new men.
Yeah.
And it was really, got really deep there.
Yeah.
With dealing with that as a kid and that trauma, really, a childhood trauma kind of stays with you.
Yeah.
And he mentions that, kind of connects that throughout the book. And I always find it interesting reading musician memoirs, how their personal life, their childhood, because a lot of these individuals that we talk about on the podcast were normal. They grew up.
Not Nepo kids.
They're not Nepo kids. Yeah. And Mark Hoppus is one of them. And how those experiences connect into his songs. Yeah. And you really feel that.
You do.
I don't know. I just thought that was really interesting.
If you know it's fun. I'm going to keep going into this book, but it's funny how Mark called it Untitled, but Travis called it Self-Titled, their album. Anyway, their 2003 album. So now I don't know whether to call it Untitled or Self-Titled.
Oh, okay.
So I always called it Self-Titled. So their 2003 Self-Titled album, there's a song called Go, and that's totally about the time his mom was with that abusive partner. And
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Listen to that song. It makes a lot more sense after reading the book. So, yeah, I was just surprised that Adam's song was about Mark.
Yeah.
And it's also interesting because I remember looking up the set list for their tour that my husband and I went to, and saying, I think I even said to my husband, like, oh, they're not playing Adam's song. I just figured, maybe they just don't really play it all the time. But Mark makes a point to mention that he just can't play that song anymore because it's too hard.
It's a powerful song.
It's a powerful song. And Sarah and I, we have discussed that before with musicians, how they're not robots.
No,
they're not. They're not just there simply to serve us as the fans. They have real feelings too.
Yeah.
And I thought it kind of made me respect the song more, that he got so emotional about it in his book.
Yeah, clearly this song means a lot to him in many ways, and I just as just a fan and a reader, really, I don't know, admired that he opened up and he shared it in his book. He's sharing it with you as the reader. That hit me too with the Adam song.
So that was my first surprise. Second surprise, Sarah, is I didn't realize that First Date and Rock Show were just kind of last minute songs written for Take Off Your Pants and Jacket.
I actually have that in my notes for today's episode.
Yeah.
That I just thought that was so neat how the record label was like, this album's a bit too serious, right?
Yeah. So he said they played it for their manager and their record label, and their people were kind of like, huh. And I think Blink were like, well, what's the matter? And they're like, it's not the funny, lighthearted Blink that we know from Enema of the State.
Yeah.
And so Mark said, okay, he went off and wrote Rock Show. Tom went off and wrote First Date to have these kind of fun little songs. And lo and behold, those became two of their biggest singles and probably the two biggest singles off the album.
Oh, those songs were huge. I love First Date. That's one of my faves.
Well, I believe on another episode you had mentioned that was your favorite
one of my faves song. Yeah. It's just funny too, these songs, listening to those two, they're great songs. They're fantastic, right? And he mentions that in the book, how they both, Tom and Mark, wrote these as kind of like an FU.
Yeah.
Which makes it even like cooler.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Doesn't it?
I think so. Because it's like, FU, we're going to write the like catchiest, cutest song.
And lo and behold, people
totally
loved
works.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just thought that was surprising. I always thought, I just assumed because these songs were so catchy and did so well that this was some of their first material for this album. Yeah. But no.
And they just like kind of wrote them on a whim.
Yeah. And Sarah, that's one of the things I love about doing this podcast with you is I'm just finding out so much more about all of our favorite musicians. Yeah. And it makes me think of all of our musicians. Everything just, there's so many similarities between musical geniuses, because then it just made me think of Noel Gallagher, how he wrote Aqueous on a whim.
Yes. Well, it made me think, I know like we talk about Oasis a lot on this podcast. There was a lot of comparisons to Oasis with Blink, and I know they have very different musical styles and deliveries in their music, but Mark Hoppus mentioned, and I can't remember for what song, but he was like, it just kind of came to me.
Yep.
And Noel Gallagher mentioned that. I think it was with Live Forever. And he's like, oh, it was just always kind of there and it came to me.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's so cool. These two musicians kind of say the same thing about these big songs that they write.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought that was really neat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was surprise number 2 for me. The First Date and Rock Show being
was cool.
last minute songs added to the album and written for the album. Yeah. Surprise number 3, kind of a surprise, not really a surprise, but Green Day were not nice to them on the Punk Pop Disaster Tour.
Yeah.
Like, damn, some of the stuff they did.
But I like how Mark writes about it. He's very like, I don't understanding.
Oh no,
empathetic because, and he's right. Like that must have been tough because Green Day, they were the punk pop kings.
Oh yeah,
and then kind of took a bit of a hit. Green Day,
they did.
And then these hot, sexy new Blink-182 guys come out.
Yeah,
and they, because for that they closed.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So it is a bit of a burn. I will give that to Green Day.
It is. And Sarah and I, we've talked about this. Well, we did a whole episode devoted to Warning. So this would have been, the Pop Punk Disaster Tour was around 2001, 2002. So Green Day, their latest album would have been Warning.
Oh, and that didn't do that well commercially.
Which did not do well commercially. Yeah. Well, Blink-182, it was Take Off Your Pants and Jacket, which just like took over. So I always assumed that, okay, Green Day probably weren't like thrilled, but they probably got offered a lot of money and they're like, okay, like, let's do it.
Yeah, I remember that.
But yeah, like when I read some of the stuff and like you said, Mark was really real about it and he didn't sugarcoat it.
No, he didn't.
He almost, the way he wrote it, it's like he justified Green Day's actions. Like he didn't, I don't know how to explain it, Sarah. Now, I say this as a Green Day and a Blink fan, so I do like Green Day. Yeah. So when I read it, I didn't think, oh, what a bunch of jerks.
No, you kind of get it.
Said, like, yeah, of course they were PO'd. They were on top of the charts for punk rock. They kind of brought punk pop into the scene with 1994's Dookie. Then, like you said, by 2001, they're opening for Blink.
Yeah. Oh, for
sure. I thought it was really funny how he said that they had it in their contract, Green Day, that they could only come out and start playing when it got dark.
Yeah, so interesting. All of these things, like, and then Blink had to like wait, and then because of the noise constraints,
because of the bylaws, sometimes they only had like less than an hour to play.
Brutal. Yeah. Oh yeah, no, that was interesting.
And I thought it was also funny how he made a point to say Trey Cool, Green Day's drummer, just really didn't give them the time of day. I thought that's very Trey Cool.
That must have been hard. Although, and Mark did say this, that a couple of years later, Green Day come out with American Idiot.
Yes.
And rise to the top again.
Yeah.
And I thought it was neat, just the connection where when Mark talks about Plus 44.
Oh, I was going to mention that, Sarah.
Okay.
I had that in my notes. It was so funny how when he talks about, exactly, Blink's broken up. It's 2000. Oh my goodness, at that point with Plus 44. Right. It's 2007. Pop punk isn't as big anymore. Mark and Travis come out with Plus 44. And yeah, he made some sort of funny comment how now I knew how Green Day felt during the Pop Punk Disaster Tour. Because he mentioned they were playing these tiny little venues. I remember in Toronto, Sarah, I think Plus 44 played at like the Phoenix. Yeah. Something tiny.
Yeah. And he said, and quote, like, they'd pull out the red carpet for Blink, but you really have to prove yourself being in a new band.
Yeah.
Although When My Heart Stops Beating, that's a good song.
When Your Heart Stops Beating. Oh, yeah. No, I did want to make a point, Sarah, in this episode to mention Plus 44 because unfortunately they only came out with one album.
Yeah.
But that was a good album.
I listened to a bit of it this week and I'm like, it was good.
Like, Tom, I hope you're not listening to this, but I'm sorry. I always preferred Plus 44's album way over any Angels and Airwaves.
Oh,
I hope Tom's
sorry,
not
Tommy boy. Ooh, but you did like Angels and Airwaves.
Oh yeah, I did. Yeah. I still like their stuff. That's funny too in the book, though. Again, have we said this book is raw? Very raw. That Mark was like, oh, he made some real digs at Angels and Airwaves.
Well, yeah. But I mean, that at that time, that was a contentious time for Mark and Tom.
Well, we'll talk later.
Yeah. Okay. Stay tuned.
So, my third surprise was that Green Day were just that brutal to them on the tour.
Yeah.
Another surprise, Sarah, and maybe I sound like an idiot because I am a big pop punk fan. I didn't realize producer Jerry Finn was like such an iconic producer.
I have him in my notes. I didn't realize, so I just did a quick Wikipedia because obviously Mark talks about him. Yeah, like a real pop punk producer, connoisseur.
Yeah, like kind of what Butch Vig was to grunge.
Yeah.
Jerry Finn was to pop punk. He's produced, well, he did. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us, but he produced Blink-182, Green Day, The Offspring, Sum 41, basically any big pop punk band in the late 90s, early 2000s. Jerry Finn had something to do with it.
Crazy.
Yeah. And I'd always known the name, and then when I looked it up, so he engineered Dookie. He didn't produce it, but he helped with it.
Yeah.
So I probably used to see his name on the back of CDs I used to have. But yeah, after reading this book, the way Mark talks about him, and like you, I did a quick Wikipedia search. This guy was huge.
Yeah. Crazy. The poor guy was like 39 with the brain aneurysm, and Mark opens up about that too.
Yeah.
Like, again, this rawness that he talks about in this book. Like, just these people close to him, like just losing someone that's so special in your life. I don't know. I really appreciated how real he got with that.
Yeah.
And open.
Yeah. But yeah, I was shocked. I didn't realize Jerry Finn was so iconic as he was when it came to the pop punk scene. Sarah, my last point I wanted to say, which I made it my last because it's probably a lot we can talk about. I feel naive to say this because I am such a huge Blink-182 fan. I didn't realize the relationship between Mark and Tom got as bad as it did. So I kind of wanted,
I mean, that's a huge part of the book.
A huge part of the book.
And I just love how he describes it. And he's, again, so real in his descriptions. And you can relate with your relationships in your life too.
Yeah.
I found it really interesting when he talks about meeting Tom.
Yeah.
And there was like an automatic click with the two of them. And he like equates their relationship and just any band with marriage.
Yeah. And it's true.
And I'm like, it really is a marriage.
Yeah.
Like they're married.
Yeah.
Mark and Tom. And I know that, not to sound strange, obviously.
No, but you're legally bound to each other.
Yeah. Sorry. And he mentioned like, quote, ebb and flow.
Yep.
Like marriages and bands. And we've talked about that before, where being in a band, it is like family.
It is.
So I just thought that was, I don't know, that stuck out for me that he mentioned that like they're married.
Yeah. Yeah. I've heard this story before in interviews and reading articles. I knew that they met when they did and that they clicked instantly.
Yeah.
So that wasn't a surprise to me. And Blink-182 is one of the first bands I liked, Sarah, where I actually remember in real time the height of Blink.
Yeah.
Like what I mean by that is like I don't remember. I love the Chili Peppers. I don't remember when Blood Sugar Sex Magic was huge. I was too young. I don't remember when Dookie was huge. Again, I was too young. But Blink-182 is one of the first of my favorite bands where I remember when they got huge, and I remember every kid in class had Enema of the State.
Oh, that was so big, that album.
Yeah. So I remember Mark and Tom just being like brothers, and
they
you
really
listen
were.
to, I don't know if I could sit through it now because the Mark, Tom, and Travis show, they came out that live compilation. Like some of the stuff they just say is just like, But I remember them bouncing off each other and being best buds.
Yeah.
So I knew that part, and then. Yeah, I just thought it was so interesting, Sarah, because I knew they went on an indefinite hiatus and after the release of their self-titled album. So not a shocker to me. But when Boxcar Racer came out, I always assumed that Mark wasn't in the band on his own terms. I thought maybe Tom was like, oh, I want to write more music. I thought maybe Mark was like, I'm going to take a break, hang out with my wife. But it wasn't like that at all.
No, they really broke up.
Yeah.
Like for a bit there. And it was rocky. Like I think both of them, and Mark calls himself out on it too, because he's like, there was a point where Tom was kind of gracious reaching out, and I was like, no, I'm not having it.
Yeah.
So both of them.
Yeah.
He does. He really opens up about that.
Yeah. Yeah. And then of course Blink, they get back together. They came out with Neighborhoods. And I also didn't realize, Sarah, now this is Mark's side of the story. I haven't read Travis Barker. He came out with a book a while ago. I haven't read that, and Tom has yet to come out with a book.
Yeah.
But yeah, he talks about the second time they got back together, and it doesn't sound like that was all sunshine and rainbows either.
It was not sunshine and rainbows.
No.
But I think that was after the tragedy of Travis with the plane crash,
Yeah.
right? So they got back together, which again, something crazy that happens in your life does bring you back.
Oh, for sure.
Tragedy can bring
that's what they
people
say
back
a bonus
together.
of a funeral is. It does.
Yes. Yeah.
One of the good, no, not good. One of the silver linings of a funeral is it brings people together, right?
It does.
That you haven't seen for a while.
It does. So that was, but I listened to Neighborhoods this week and I really liked it.
Yeah.
But I feel bad saying that because I think it was a hard point for all three men in the band.
I think it was a hard point for all three men in the band. And Sarah, it's funny. I remember specifically saying to my friend Shannon, she also saw Blink a few years back when they reunited again.
Right.
And I remember saying to her, I thought the connection they had back in 2024 was way better than when I saw them in 2010.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
saw
that
them,
makes sense.
Yeah,
That
I
makes
saw them in
sense. Yeah.
2010. Good show. I had a great time with my best friend Allison. We went. It was a good show, but I remember just thinking they just didn't seem as in tune together.
So interesting you say that because at that point
Yeah.
they weren't.
No.
Wow,
And then I
okay.
saw them, 2 summers ago with my husband because they've gotten back together again. And then I remember saying to my husband when I saw them together again in 2024, I felt like the brotherhood was back.
Yeah, and it was.
Yeah.
At that point.
Yeah.
They got back together.
Yeah. And you, Sarah, you said you've recently listened to their latest album, One More Time.
Okay. One more time. It blew me away. Like if you have any
It blew her away.
it blew me away. It's an amazing album.
It's an amazing album.
They really gave it their all. I am on a huge Blink kick right now. I watched reading this book, getting all into Mark Hoppus and Blink-182. I watched the Zane Lowe interview.
Oh, Zane Lowe.
Yeah, and I mean Zane Lowe, he's a very good interviewer.
Yeah.
And it has like over 2 million views. It popped up on my YouTube. So I'm like, okay, I'll watch this. And it was honestly, Katie, one of the best interviews I've ever watched. I was like totally engrossed. Tom, Travis, and Mark were just totally exposed themselves.
Yeah.
They were emotional and raw and so real. It was one of the most real interviews I've ever watched. And like, I was just like, oh my God, you're humans. Like, you're human beings. They were just sitting there and just talking about the band. It made me want to go and listen to their latest record.
Yeah.
Like they were just so, and I think that's with Oasis too. Oasis and Blink-182, so authentic.
They were. And what I like about that interview, because I watched that before too, is I watched it a little bit again after reading this book.
Yeah.
Because I got to be honest, Sarah, as a huge Tom DeLonge fan, reading this book, it's a bit of a heartbreak because you're like, man, he doesn't sound like the nicest guy sometimes in this book.
But you know, he talks about that in the Zane Lowe interview.
I was just gonna say. So then I watched that video again the interview again, because it just made me restore my faith in Tom DeLonge.
He was great in that video and just like talked about it and how he was going through a rough time and he didn't want to like put that on Travis or Mark.
Yeah.
And like opened up about his divorce, which I didn't know he went through a divorce.
Yeah, so I knew he went through a divorce and he got remarried a few years back. So I did think that when I was reading the book, there was a few times that, well, for example, when they got back together the second time and Mark kind of made it seem like Tom was all about the money, like he just wanted to make as much money as he could.
Yeah.
I thought to myself, Sarah, like he was probably going through a nasty divorce and he probably was like, shit, I'm going to need some more money.
Yeah, you're not thinking clearly.
No.
Or like emotionally sane at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I said, as a huge Tom DeLonge fan, I found it, I don't want to say hard. Like Mark wasn't malicious in his writing.
No.
But it was, it made you reflect on a few things.
Sure. Definitely.
Yeah. But I would love for Tom to come out with his book and share his insight into what he was going through.
Exactly. Mark Hoppus, it's his perspective of it, right? And there were obviously some really rocky patches and where Tom maybe wasn't like the greatest, but as I mentioned in that interview I watched with Zane Lowe, he was going through his own stuff too. Yeah. Which doesn't excuse it, but I don't know, he just really opened up about that. And then Maybe we're going to mention this later, but Mark goes in a lot to about his cancer.
Yes.
And oh man, I just think it's so amazing how like they got back together and Tom was like so supportive.
Yeah. And Mark did such a nice job because I as I was reading through the book, I knew at some point he's gonna have to mention that they got back together again.
Yeah.
And I thought he did such a brilliant job of ending the book with that.
God.
Yeah.
It was just so, after all that Mark went through, so uplifting.
Yeah.
At the end, because it gets pretty deep and dark there by the end. When he mentioned, what really stuck out for me when he was talking about his cancer, like how he didn't want to, he was worried about telling people because people might think that, oh, well, you've had so much luck in your life.
Yeah.
You kind of like deserve it almost.
Yeah.
And he was so real about that. And I was like, that's very human of you to share that, but sad that he thought that. But then he's like, it didn't happen. Like, it restored my faith in humanity that everybody was so great. But I don't know. Yeah, he was just so real. And I just really liked it.
I really like. No, I'm always so I'm always apprehensive reading a book by one of your icons because
Totally.
you don't know what spin they're gonna take.
Yeah.
And you don't know if you're gonna, I don't know. Wait, where am I going with this?
I know.
Yeah. So, and I always remember my brother saying he read the book on Dave Grohl. I've yet to read that book.
Okay.
Dave Grohl wrote a book. And I always remember Sarah, our brother, saying, oh, he barely talked about Nirvana. And that's what I wanted to learn about. So I that kind of stuck with me. So when I picked up this book, I thought, is Mark even going to talk a lot about Blink? Because he's had a lot of other stuff go on in his life that he could talk about, which he does.
Yeah.
But no, like, this is totally catered to Blink-182 fans. If you want to find out more about the band's history, definitely read Mark Hoppus' book.
He does such a great job of woving in his personal life with Blink-182, but Blink-182 is his life.
Yeah, and he talks about that.
He talks about that a lot, and it really is. And he mentions when him and Tom and Travis break up for a bit back in
the first time, in the early 2000s.
Like, I lost my sense of identity. Yeah. And I'm like, Blink-182 is a part of your identity.
Yeah.
And I also love how, this made me think of Oasis too, but how he's like, Blink-182 getting back together, like it's an idea.
Yeah.
Like Blink-182 are one of those bands where it transcends like just the music. I'm like, it is an idea.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's really, really cool. And that latest album.
Yeah, it's a good album.
It is good. One more time.
Yeah.
Like, I watched the video. I remember, this is powerful stuff.
I remember when Blink-182 announced that they were getting back together. Well, okay, so Mark talks about this in the book too. The second time that Tom left, Mark and Travis were like, "Screw you. We're just gonna keep Blink, but get someone else." So they got the guy from Alkaline Trio, who I actually think he's no Tom DeLonge, but I think he did a good job.
California is a good album.
It is a good album.
Yeah.
And so I remember when Tom came back and Matt from Alkaline Trio was kind of pushed out. Tom said sorry, but Matt was like, no, it's cool.
Tom DeLonge.
I remember Tom writing some kind of over the top posts of, we're back together, we're gonna write the best music we've ever written. And I remember thinking, like, okay, Tom, like, slow down. You're gonna write better music than your self-titled album or Take Off Your Pants and Jacket. But nope, I give it to you, Tom. One More Time is a solid album, and it probably is some of your best, most mature, well-written music to date.
Yes, it is phenomenal. That album.
It is phenomenal.
They give it their all. Travis sounds amazing. I mean, the writing. Just I listened to One More Time, the song. After the book, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is his book. Like, the lyrics.
Yeah.
I was like, you guys are so raw. I love it.
Yeah.
I don't know. you matured so much and you grew together and their friendship. I was like, even seeing Travis there, I'm like, you're such a rock after everything you've been through.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Oh, he is. Yeah. No, they've been through so much.
They have.
Yeah.
Together.
All three of them, really.
All three of them personally, and then together as a band. And then it's just so, I don't know, so wonderful after the tragedy of the plane crash. And then, of course, Mark going through all of that with his cancer. Coming back together.
Yeah.
Like that must have meant a lot for you to go see them.
Oh yeah. It was what?
I didn't realize that tour was called Missionary Impossible.
Oh.
Isn't
that funny?
They still kept that.
Oh yeah. And they still said they said funny things at the show for sure.
I'm sure, yeah. I was like, oh man, classic.
Yeah.
It works on so many levels. I don't know. I thought that was funny.
There's a little girl still inside all of us.
There is.
There is. No, and another really cool thing about Blink too,
among others,
among other things, Sarah, is what I think is really cool is when they play live, it's just the three of them. Like they don't have
yeah.
A lot of bands have touring guitarists, touring keyboardists, but
fair enough.
It's just the Mark, Tom, and Travis show.
It is. It really is.
Yeah.
That must have been like. Did they play a lot from their latest album?
They did. Yeah,
they did. Okay.
But they did a very good assortment of new and old.
Yeah, you gotta do the oldies. Yeah, yeah. Just from that Zane Lowe interview that I got obsessed with. At the end, Zane just asks each of them, like, what's the biggest thing for you about being in Blink or getting back into Blink? And Travis and Mark both said great things, but Tom just ended it with personal growth and seeing things in a new light. And I just thought that was so beautiful.
Yeah.
I don't know. Got me into Blink-182 and they looked really good. I know I always go into fashion, but
no, they're aging well.
Damn, boys. Fine Wine Club on the Girls Like Rock 2 podcast.
Yeah.
Do they make it in? Do they get in there with Oasis?
Sarah's got a little Mark Hoppus crush now.
I do, yeah. The skater look. Well, just interesting because he mentions at the beginning skateboarding was a big thing for him. And Blink-182, you think of the place like California.
Oh,
and
yeah.
You think
Southern
of like
California.
the skateboarding and the culture. Like it's a part of that too. And I guess that idea of Blink is an idea in the fashion and the culture as well as the music. Yeah, no, yeah, they look great. And I just, when guys wear like a nice pair, well, they're all there on like these bar stools talking to Zane Lowe.
Yeah.
Very emotional. It's great. But I was like, damn, they looked good because they were all wearing those like skater shoes.
Yeah, probably Vans.
Well, yeah, Tom, I think, was wearing Adidas. So rocking the three stripes there. But I just love when guys wear a nice pair of sneakers with socks. I don't know. I just like that look.
Yeah, the socks are a good addition to the sneakers, Sarah. Well, there you have it. That is Sarah and my take on Mark Hoppus's Fahrenheit 182 book.
Maybe this inspires you to read the book. Even if you're not, if you're into music and if you're not even that big into Blink-182, it's totally worth a read.
It's a well-written book.
Very well written. And I didn't know Mark Hoppus was such a huge fan of like The Cure.
Oh, we didn't even mention that, Sarah. That's right. What were your thoughts on when he met Robert Smith?
I thought that was cool. I forgot about that song, but it's a great song. And I just at the beginning, because he mentions the bassist from The Cure got him into wanting to play bass.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's really cool.
What I thought was funny is, so he talks about how Robert Smith apparently tried to make out with him. What was so funny is, Sarah, just like a few days before I read this book, I saw a little blurb from Billy Corgan who said the same thing. He's like, when I met Robert Smith, the guy just tried to make out with me the whole time.
Really?
So I was like, man, okay. So I don't think Mark's lying. I think it probably did happen.
Interesting. Yes, I do remember that in the book.
Yeah. But yeah, if you're really into musical journeys, I highly recommend Mark's book. Sarah and I have gushed over it.
I love how you say musical journey because it's like a musical journey, and clearly Mark Hoppus' music is a huge part of who he is. Yeah. So it's like a musical journey, a personal journey at the same time.
Yeah.
It's so great. Clearly, we're big fans of the book.
Clearly, we're big fans of the book. And now, Tom, we just need you to come out with your memoir.
Yeah.
I would, obviously, I'm biased. I'm a huge Tom DeLonge fan.
Yeah.
But even that aside, after reading Mark's side of his take on certain things, I would love to hear Tom's take.
Well, he really opened up in this interview. And so I'm like, yeah, that rawness that would come out in a book, I think it'd be really good too. Yeah. I would read it as well. If he does come out with it.
Okay, Tom, if you're listening, you start writing.
Let's do it. Maybe he is.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for listening. Katie and I really appreciate your time. Let us know in the comments your thoughts on Mark Hoppus if you've read the book, his memoir. Did you love it as much as we loved it? Katie and I post a new episode every Friday. The podcast is currently available on YouTube and Spotify.
And we just want to remind everybody that girls like rock too. And don't forget to hit subscribe.